Hello everyone. Today in this video I will tell you the details of general physical examination in children. So to easily remember the general physical examination, we can divide into three parts. In first part, general condition of the patient, then in second part all the vital parameters, and in third part head to toe examination should be performed. So in first part, position and posture of the patient, then the level of consciousness, then patient is oriented to time place person or not, then the build and nutritional status, then the hydration and the growth status of the patient. So in this video you can see the child is in lying down position, normal posture, patient is fully conscious and oriented to time place person and having the normal hydration, normal built nourishment and normal growth. In second part, all the vitals parameters should be examined. So the details of all the vital parameter I have already uploaded in this YouTube channel. So in brief, for the pulse examination, all the 11 points, pulse rate, rhythm, volume, tension, character, intensity, and then vessel wall thickness, then all peripheral pulses, and then radio-radial delay, radiofemoral delay, and the pulse deficit. All these points are for the pulse examination. Now in the respiration, again respiratory rate, type, rhythm, depth of the respiration, signs of respiratory distress, audible adventitious sound we have to mention and examine. And in the blood pressure by the palpatory and the auscultatory method in children and by the flush method in infants. And at least we should measure the blood pressure in 3 limbs. And for the temperature, we generally prefer the axillary temperature in children, but rectal temperature is indicated for the newborns and the malnourished baby, and sometimes just by the palpation method we examine the newborn. So this is all about vitals. Now the third part is head to toe examination. So in this we have to start the examination from the head and then go downward. So in the head, size, shape, frontal bossing, prominence, fontanelles should be palpated and any scalp swelling is there or not. So in the head size, after measuring the head circumference, we have to mention is it the normal size of head or microcephaly when the head circumference less than -3 SD or macrocephaly when head circumference more than 2 SD. And after head size, head shape should be checked, is it normal or abnormal shape due to the craniosynostosis or due to the hydrocephalus. In craniosynostosis, because of the premature closure of the sagittal suture, dolichocephalic head in which the anteroposterior diameter is increased. Brachycephaly in which there is a premature closure of the coronal suture occur. Plagiocephaly in which there is a premature unilateral fusion of the coronal and lambdoid suture occur. Trigonocephaly when there is a premature closure of the metopic suture occur. And frontal bossing should be checked. Is it the normal frontal bone or frontal bossing due to rickets, hydrocephalus, thalassemia or achondroplasia is there. After that we have to examine fontanelles. So anterior fontanelles is at the junction of two parietal and two frontal bones. Normal size 2.5 into 2.5 and normal shape is rhomboid and closes around 1.5 year. So in this video I am palpating the anterior fontanelle and you can see the pulsation over the anterior fontanelle. And to measure the size, there are the two methods to measure the size of the anterior fontanelles. So in this picture, either in first picture you can see either taking the length and the width of the anterior fontanelle and multiplying it, or in second method midpoint can be taken and by multiplying it we can measure the size. There are various causes of delayed closure of anterior fontanelle. So rickets, hydrocephalus, hypothyroidism, achondroplasia can lead to the delayed closure. Small anterior fontanelle can be seen in craniosynostosis, and shrunken anterior fontanelle whenever there is a dehydration and increased ICT will reach to the bulging fontanelle. And posterior fontanelle is at the junction of two parietal and occipital bone. Normal size is 0.5 cm, shape triangular and closes at 1.5 month. So in this video I am palpating the posterior fontanelle. To easily remember, when it closes for anterior fontanelle 1.5 year, for posterior fontanelle 1.5 month of the age. After that, any swelling over the scalp should be examined. Example, caput succedaneum, cephal hematoma, dermoid or histiocytosis. After that, we have to check the hair color, texture, luster. Is it dense or sparse hair or strong or easily pluckable, and also the hairline should be checked. In this video you can see I am checking the hair for the all the points. Now after that, face should be checked. Is it normal and symmetrical or asymmetrical face, or having the some characteristic faces or some skin lesion over the face. So there are various characteristic faces. So in this left picture you can see child is suffering from hypothyroidism and having the coarse face, and in right side picture child is having mongoloid face, Down syndrome, and in the left side picture child is suffering from mucopolysaccharidosis and having the coarse facial features, and the right side nephrotic syndrome. And symmetry of the face should be checked. So in the left side picture child is suffering from the hypoplasia of depressor anguli oris muscle, and in the right side picture child is having facial palsy. After that, any skin lesion over the face should be mentioned. So in left side infant is having the atopic dermatitis, and in right side child is having the adenoma sebaceum due to tuberous sclerosis. Eye should be examined for the eyebrows, eyelashes, eyelids, and size of the eyeballs, then slant of the eyes, conjunctiva, cornea, sclera, intercanthal distance, pupil, iris, lens, and then lacrimal gland should be examined. So first, eyebrows and eyelashes, in which color, texture, density of the hair. In right side picture, because of the albinism, child is having hypopigmented eyebrows and eyelashes, and in left side sparse eyebrows because of the syndrome is present. Now after that we have to check the eyelids edema, which can be present in the nephritis, nephrotic syndrome. So in the right side picture child is suffering from nephrotic syndrome and having the edema of the eyelids. It may be because of the some local causes and in hypothyroidism. And we have to check the ptosis also. It can be because of the snake bite, congenital ptosis, Horner, myasthenia, or Noonan syndrome. So in this picture child is having snake bite. And size of the eyeballs should be checked. Is it normal size or is it abnormal? Example, it may be prominent because of the exophthalmos. In the right side lower picture child is suffering from Crouzon syndrome, and in right upper picture child is having the Harlequin-ichthyosis, and left upper picture because of the periorbital abscess. For shrunken eyeball we label as a enophthalmos for small, microphthalmos for enlarged eyeball, buphthalmos. After that we have to check the slants of the eyes. So in the left side picture child is having the mongoloid slant because of the Down syndrome, in which the inner canthus is lower than the outer canthus, and in the right side picture anti-mongoloid slant because of the Treacher-Collins syndrome, in which inner canthus is above the outer canthus. After that conjunctiva should be checked for the girosis, Bitot spot, any conjunctivitis, and palpable conjunctiva should be checked for the pallor and also hemorrhage in the conjunctiva. In this video you can see how to examine the palpable conjunctiva for the pallor. So just stretch the lower eyelid and check the pallor. Now after that cornea should be checked for the keratitis, ulcer, clouding of the cornea. We label the microcornea when the size is less than 10 mm, megalo when more than 13 mm, and in Wilson disease KF ring can be seen by the slit lamp examination. After that sclera should be checked for the yellow discoloration, which can be seen in the icterus, and the blue sclera can be seen if the child is having some syndrome, Marfan, osteogenesis imperfecta, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Now in this video I am demonstrating how to examine the sclera. We have to instruct the baby to look down, and we have to check the upper and outer part of the sclera for the icterus. Whenever child is having jaundice, jaundice first appear in the upper and outer part of the sclera, and after that we have to measure the intercanthal distance. Normal intercanthal distance is equal to the one eye width. We label the hypertelorism when the increased intercanthal distance and also increased interpupillary distance is there. We label the hypotelorism when the distance, intercanthal distance, is less than one eye width, and telecanthus when the child is having increased intercanthal distance but the normal interpupillary distance. So in this picture you can see distance between the inner canthus. After that lacrimal gland and the tears should be checked. So in this picture in right side child is having bilateral mucocele. It resolve after 7 days, and so in left side picture you can see the same child had the unilateral mucocele in between. And after that we have to examine the ear for the size, shape, position, and then also we have to check the external auditory canal and the tympanic membrane by the otoscope. So in this video I am showing how to check the position of the ear. So we have to draw a line from the outer canthus. Horizontal line should be drawn, and normally 1/3 of the ear should be above this line and 2/3 should be below this line. And we label the low set ear whenever the position of the ear is below this line. So in the left lower picture you can see the child is having low set ear, and in the left upper picture child is having the deformed pinna which is microtia, and in the right side picture there is a normal tympanic membrane in the right upper picture, and in the right lower picture there is a perforation in the tympanic membrane. So we have to mention. Now in this video examining the ear with the otoscope, so we have to examine for the tympanic membrane and external auditory canal. After that nose should be examined for the size, shape, position, nasal bridge, ali nasi, nares, and the nasal cavity. In left upper picture newborn is having the necrosis of nasal septum. Left lower picture parrot nose in Krausen syndrome. Right upper picture beaked nose is present in a syndromic child, and right lower picture depressed nasal bridge. After that mouth should be examined. Lips, philtrum, gum, teeth, palate, tongue, tonsil, uvula, postiopharyngeal wall, and the symmetry of the mouth should be examined. So in this video you can see how to examine the oral cavity. We should use the torch and the tongue depressor, and we have to check all the points. So in the left upper picture you can see newborn is having the oral thrush because of candidiasis, and in left lower cleft palate is there, and in right upper picture membrane is present over the tonsil because of the diphtheria, and in the right lower picture both the siblings are having the absent teeth because having the ectodermal dysplasia. After that neck should be examined for any swelling, webbing, lymphadenopathy. Position of the trachea should be checked. Short neck or neck stiffness, JVP should be calculated. In left side picture child is having the sternocleidomastoid tumor, and in right side picture ruptured cystic hygroma is there. And lymphadenopathy in cervical, axillary, inguinal lymph node should be palpated. In cervical lymph node we have to flex the neck, and we have to start from submental lymph node, then submandibular lymph node just under the jaw, then preauricular lymph node in front of the ear, and the postauricular lymph node behind the ear, and after that postauricular occipital lymph node at the base of skull should be palpated, and superficial cervical lymph node just in front of sternocleidomastoid, and posterior cervical lymph node just behind the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and then supraclavicular lymph node in the angle of the sternocleidomastoid and the clavicle we have to palpate. Then axillary lymph node, anterior axillary, lateral axillary, and medial axillary lymph node, and then after that apical axillary lymph node should be palpated, and the lastly posterior axillary lymph node should be palpated. Now I am showing you how to measure the JVP. Keep the patient in 45-degree position, semi-reclined position, and then put the scale at the sternal angle and another scale at the level of where the pulsation of the external jugular vein is visible by the torch. And the distance between these two, sternal angle and the visible pulsation, we have to calculate it, and this distance should be added with the 5 centimeter, because the sternal angle is at the distance of 5 centimeter from the center of the right atrium, and in a normal child this distance between the sternal angle and the visible pulsation should not exceed the 2 centimeter in the position of 45 degree. So 2 plus 5, 7 centimeter is the normal JVP. After that, shape of the chest and the position of the nipple should be checked. So shape may be normal or abnormal shape, example barrel shape in emphysema, pectus carinatum, excavatum, and the position of the nipple is normal or abnormal, example wide space nipple can be seen in the Turner. And in the right side picture you can see the child is having adolescent gynecomastia, then any dilated vein, scar, sinus, fistula should be mentioned. After that, abdomen should be examined for the shape of the abdomen, umbilicus position and the shape, then engorged veins, scar, sinus, anything is there or not. In left upper picture, you can see the distended abdomen because of the huge hepatosplenomegaly, and in the left lower scaphoid abdomen is present, and in right lower umbilical hernia is present. And after that, we have to examine the upper limbs and hands. Is it normal or having any congenital malformation? Example, phacomelia in the left upper picture, and single palmar crease in the right upper picture is present, which is characteristically seen in the Down syndrome, and absent thumb in the left lower. And then we have to examine for the pallor. In palm, we have to check the color of the thinner and hypothinner and the central part of the palm, and also the color of the creases. If you find that the central part of the palm is pale and other part is pink, that means patient is having the mild or moderate anemia. If the thinner and hypothinner is also pale with the creases are also pale, that means the child is suffering from severe anemia. So in this picture you can see child is having the severe anemia. Some other form of the congenital malformation in upper limbs are example ectrodactyly, which is the split hand and foot syndrome, clinodactyly, which is seen in the Down syndrome, in which the shortening of middle phalanx of the little finger associated with the inward curving, arachnodactyly, polydactyly. In the right side picture you can see the child is having polydactyly, syndactyly when the fusion of the two finger is there, which is again in Down syndrome. In this picture you can see the both the siblings are having the ectrodactyly of the both hands and the foot. And now similarly in the lower limbs and feet, we have to check the is it normal or having any malformation, and we have to check for the edema also. Check is it the pitting edema. We have to press the tibial shin or the malleoli at least for the 30 seconds, and then if the pit is formed, that means it is the pitting edema. So in this video you can see the child is having the pitting edema. After that, nails should be examined for the pallor, cyanosis, clubbing, koilonychia, paronychia. So in the left upper picture you can see the child is having clubbing because of cyanotic heart disease, in left lower because of the Wilson disease, and in the right lower picture because of the cyanotic heart disease, cyanosis is there. In this video you can see the child is having the pallor of the nails because of the severe anemia. After that, skin should be examined for the color, pigmentation, turgor, texture, any hemorrhagic spot, rashes, pyoderma, Mongolian spot, palmar erythema, erythema toxicum. So in the left side upper picture you can see the newborn is suffering from severe ichthyosis, Hurley-Q ichthyosis, and in the left lower picture there is a bullous lesion, and in the left lower side patient is having ecchymosis also, and in the right upper picture you can see newborn is having the giant melanocyte nevus on the face, and in the right lower picture there is a hemangioma over the face. After that, external genitalia and the perianal area should be examined. In this we have to examine any hernia, hydrocele, tumor or torsion of the testis, phimosis or hypospadiasis or clitoris enlargement or vaginal discharge or ambiguous genitalia is there or not. So in the left upper picture you can see the child is having the perianal rashes, and in the left lower picture hypospadiasis is there, and in the right upper picture swelling of the scrotum because of the nephrotic syndrome, and in right lower picture there is a hydrocele with the undescended testis. After that, all the bones and joints should be examined for any deformity, swelling, tenderness, size and the symmetry of the limbs. So in the left upper picture you can see the child is having the right sided knee joint swelling because of the septic arthritis, and in the left lower picture because of the hemarthrosis swelling of the joint is there, and in right upper picture subcutaneous nodules are there, and in the lower picture there is a congenitally malformed lower limb is present. After that, spine and the back should be checked for any deformity, swelling, tenderness and the curvature, sinus, tuft of the hair. So in the on left side of the picture there is a spina bifida, so swelling is present over the back, and in the right side picture you can see in the upper one opisthotonous posture is present, and in the right lower side of the picture scoliosis is there. So this is all about general physical examination. Thank you so much.